42 Rams, whatever. They win 8-5. Atlanta Falcons cruising right along, still very, very much in the mix at the top of this thing.
And like Nate said, this is all without Julio Jones, who was inactive with turf toe. While, he's been quiet this last month, Matt Ryan still on pace for having the best season of his career. Now, we have to have this conversation on whether or not we think that he might be he's very much so in the mix.
Sure, for sure.
As an MVP.
Well, you just look at where they're at right now and what he was able to do. 18 for 28, 3 TDs, and that's without Julio, like you said, without Mohamed Sanu, who they brought in to be the number 2. You have to credit Matty Ice. I mean, we talked to him early in the year. He's a friend of the show. He says, listen, I love the nickname. It's pretty much who I am. I just got to play up to those standards, and he's been doing that. And we've talked about it constantly throughout the day and throughout the morning. It's teams that are getting hot at the right time. And you see these guys making plays, and some will say, as they're listening to me talk and listening to us have this conversation, it's the LA Rams. Let me remind you, every team in the NFL deserves respect.
They get a check, Nate.
They get a check. They get paid to play professional football. The Atlanta Falcons were much, much better on this day, but you have to credit the Atlanta Falcons, and you have to give credit to Matty Ice. Yes, okay, he is in the conversation. His numbers are off the charts.
Especially without Trufant on this defense, he's having to do a lot more to keep his team alive, and he does. They're 8-5.
Yeah, this is exciting, this MVP race, because typically at this point, we already know who's going to win it. It's Peyton Manning. It's almost always Peyton Manning, or it's Rodgers, or it's Brady. It's kind of like the Heisman. Like, we knew Lamar Jackson was going to win the Heisman here in New York over the weekend. He wrapped the thing up in September. But right now, here we are. We're headed into week 15, and I don't know who it's going to be. Last week, I said Derek Carr, I think, is out of the running. Had a terrible game, a nationally televised game. I think Dak is probably out of the running now, too. But look, what are we talking about? We got
Dak's
Brady.
really out of the running after
I think
that
he's
one.
out. I do.
I don't think
the way it
so.
works.
I don't think so, Kevin.
Because he threw 2 interceptions?
Yeah, I do.
And he lost twice this year?
Look, I don't vote. I'm not saying I would vote against him, but I know how this works. If you go nationally televised game and drop an egg to your rival, they're usually out.
No, here's the thing, KB. You are 100% right. That is how it works. If a guy goes out and he has a bad game, he's off the list.
That's how it works.
But because we don't have a clear-cut front runner, I think these guys still have a chance. I still think Derek Carr still has a chance and Dak Prescott if they finish the season strong. But they're going to have to come out, finish the season strong, and have some type of highlight game where they're very productive. But I don't believe anybody's out of it because there's so many guys that are still on the list, and I love it. I love the fact that we don't know.
Me
right
too.
now. Because guys have to finish the season strong, and every game, every moment matters.
Nate, there's a quarterback who goes tonight against Baltimore who's won this thing before. That's the most dramatic choice, obviously, starting with the suspension. By the way, another guy who started with the suspension, Le'Veon Bell could easily win this thing. We got all hands on deck.
Most valuable player to your team, right? And you just mentioned a couple guys that are on the list, along with the other host of guys that we mentioned before.
I don't know who I would like to win.
Peter Schrager, Matt Ryan for MVP?
Yeah, he's in the conversation for sure. They've got to win the division for him to win that, though, because they've had some weird losses, right? They lost to San Diego. They lost to Kansas City at home. You need to overcome that. Now, to me, you're talking about Jennifer Lawrence. You're talking about, some of these younger actresses. Talking about Naomi Watts. But at the end of the day,
Shailene Woodley.
It's gonna be Helen Mirren and Meryl Streep, and that is Brady and Rodgers.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that I'm looking at here. Those are the two. Because if Rodgers can get his team in and he wins out the way he's playing, he's right back in the conversation. And then Tom Brady's got 19 touchdowns and 1 interception. If they're the 1 seed running away, he's got to be in the conversation. Stafford's the wild card to me. If Stafford can get the Lions to a home field advantage and a bye in the first week and an NFC North title, the team's first since, I believe, 1993, Matt Stafford still, who I've been saying since week 4, is the MVP in the conversation. So, Ryan, I like it. We had him at the 4-week mark. We had him at the 8-week mark. I just don't know if Matt Ryan is the MVP of the entire league. He's certainly having a very nice year and deserves all-pro consideration.
Peter, do you agree with us that it seems a little bit more exciting this season, that there's not really a clear front runner like there have been in previous years?
Yeah, even last year it was like Cam Newton around week 9 or week 10 was like, all right, here's our guy, and then it's going to take some catastrophic fall off. But it's week to week. Derek Carr, we were already fitting him for an MVP award press conference, and now he's not even in my top 5. So it's interesting week to week how we do this. And who knows, by the time we're done with this in week 16, week 17, it could already be locked up by Stafford or Rodgers, or in this case, even Matt Ryan. We'll see. Hey, Ben Roethlisberger's having a good year, too. It's anybody's game. I mean, it's wide open.
Yeah, Peter, am I to understand that you think that the Dak and Carr are like the Brittany Snow and Anna Kendrick of the NFL? Am I following you?
Yeah, they do the little cup dance and they sing Pitch Perfect. That's that. I mean, you can have that. I will take Meryl Streep. I will take her in anything she's in. I'm a big Meryl Streep fan. Tom Brady, you're my Meryl Streep, but you're in.
Helen, I'm a Haley Steinfeld. I like the young talents, right?
The Helen Mirren. I do like the Steinfeld.
I love Steinfeld.
I love to see
my
Carr get that.
goodness.
Now, with more on developing stories and other injuries around the league, NFL Network insider Ian Rappaport back with us, probably shaking his head at the conversations that we're having here on a Monday morning. Ian.
I'm just trying to wrap my hands around Schrager. I'm a big Meryl Streep fan. I mean, I heard a bunch of words. Talking MVP stuff. Schrager, I'm a big Meryl Streep fan, and that was I blacked out after that.
Ian, let's talk about some injuries here. Let's talk about some news around the league. After losing to the Steelers yesterday at home, what's next for Rex Ryan and the Bills?
Well, it certainly seems like the Bills at the end of the year,